what is happening.
Broadcasting live from the Zimmer Communications World Headquarters.
Great news for the American people.
This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri with Branden Rathert, featuring Stephanie Bell, News Director Brian Houseworth, John Marsh, and Hannah, the producer.
This is why we listen to you.
Get ready, pal.
And now, here's your host, Branden Rathert.
A Fulton County grand jury returned a true bill of indictment, charging 19 individuals with violations of Georgia law arising from a criminal conspiracy to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election in this state.
That's Fulton County DA Fani Willis last night, late last night, announcing an indictment against former President Donald Trump. Welcome to the show. It's Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
You go to sleep and then you wake up and there's another indictment.
And this is all BS, by the way, and I have several reasons why I think it's BS. This reminds me when Trump was president, you know, I was an ardent Trump backer. Every morning getting up and you look at your phone and you had like 27 breaking news alerts. Trump did this last night. Trump did that. And I'll tell you something real personal here. Every day it was like coming in like, how am I going to defend this guy today? How am I going to do it? That's what it felt like this morning when I opened up my phone and I'm like, man, what's going on now? Okay, another indictment. But a couple of things really struck me as it was odd. Number one, the timing. And not just before we're getting ready for a debate, not because it's amidst all these other indictments that are coming down, but this was really late at night.
It was really late at night, and there was some things that preceded what happened late at night that had, I think, maybe pushed it out a little bit earlier, perhaps.
So apparently, somehow, and we don't know because the DA, Fani Willis, she was asked about this fake document or something that was uploaded prior to the grand jury voting on this indictment. It goes up on the website. News organizations catch it. So she's asked about it. They're like, hey, by the way, you posted this before the grand jury voted on it. She said, I have no comment on that. That's the answer from the woman who's going after the former president of the United States of America. Hey, your office did something wrong in this indictment of the former president of the United States of America. Can you explain that? No comments. That's weird. Also, what's weird, she went, as Stephanie Bell calls it. When Stephanie goes and gets all fixed up, can I tell the story?
You can.
Stephanie says she's going to the car wash. When she goes, she gets her hair did. She gets the
I'm like, give me the works, the full package.
Yeah. Guess who did that? Fani Willis. Did it a couple weeks ago. Guess who got new press photos and all that stuff in anticipation of this? Fani Willis.
And, you know, a lot of the timing is also bizarre in that a lot of the I think the one surprise in there is this is really the first one where a bunch of other people got indicted as well. So there's 18 total people named. But other than that, the allegations in there are things we've known for a long time.
There is nothing new. There is nothing new in this stuff. What is new is the Fulton County's DA, her hairdo, her clothes, and her stuff, because she done went to the car wash. Marsh, your reaction to this morning?
Oh, I don't know. You know, they keep stacking on against Trump, and I may defer to the lawyer among us and say, eventually is one of these charges over these 4 and potentially more indictments going to end up sticking, and will the former president get convicted?
So, and I'm with you. I get that, because I've said, can both be true? Yeah, they continue. As a matter of fact, we have some audio. I need you to hear from Hillary Clinton last night. Complete and utter BS. And Hannah, you better be ready with the bleep and dump button this morning, because Houseworth is mad. Houseworth is on fire, and he might use some foul language this morning. We're going to play audio from Hillary that I think proves the very thing that we're talking about.
Your glasses aren't on your head.
And John, you bring up a good question, but I think right now my question is, what's the timing on this? We know in some of the other cases they're pushing to get the trials before the election, but do we think if Trump had kind of, you know, just retired, was not running for anything, do you think they'd still be pushing this? I mean, if he ends up not being the ultimate candidate in a year from now, will these things quietly go away? I mean, is he done? I think they're still going to be obsessed with Trump, but I don't think we will see new indictments. I don't think we will see it with the fervor that we see now.
And here's the thing, and I got to be honest, above Everything else, gotta be honest. Cannot both things be true? Yes, they continue to go after Trump. Any of these indictments, whether it's the Georgia stuff, whether it's the stuff in New York with the hush money payment, whether it's the stuff in Washington, D.C. By the way, when is Joe Biden going to court for his mishandling of documents? The system is working, as you're about to hear from Hillary Clinton. It is working, Hillary. You are correct. I agree with you, and not in the way that you think we do. 874-9390. How do you react to this? Is it just kind of like, all right, it's just more of the same? Anything different for you this morning? Would love to hear it at 874-9390. By the way, Congressman Mark Alford, he's here at 7:35. One of the first things we are going to ask him is going to be about this. We're also going to be talking about this Farm Bill listening town hall thing he did yesterday at the State Fair.
Yeah, and again, I'll defer to the attorney on the attorney because I don't know the specifics, and it sounds a little bit complicated as well. But I do think that with the base, just up the road in Iowa, and you got to look at Iowa because it's a neighboring state, farm state, very rural. Former President Trump was treated like a rock star this weekend. I mean, he's a rock star to them, and DeSantis had I would say more of a friendly applause, and he certainly had, and there were other candidates there as well, many others. But I think with the base, just hearing responses and stuff with the base, it doesn't matter. They're still gonna vote for him. He's still formidable. The question is, will it hurt him in a general election? And I don't know. I mean, we'll certainly wait and see. I mean, it is an unusual thing. You got the situation with President Biden as well. So it's just I've never seen anything quite like this. What's happening right now?
Well, regarding the timing,
We do want to move this case along, and so we will be asking for a proposed order that occurs a trial date within the next 6 months.
that's right. Let's do it before the election, man. That again, Fonnie Willis, DA, Fulton County, Georgia.
And she got all done up, but it's just because she's in her Barbie girl era.
By the way, you can watch
Like some other people.
You can watch our show. We're like everywhere. You can watch on Twitter. You can watch on Facebook. You can watch on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
This morning, I'm going to ask you a favor. Please don't go to YouTube and watch this morning, even for 5 minutes. Please don't pop it up on your smart TV in the house or at your workplace. I completely didn't take this into consideration. So
I said next time you're gonna do your Barbie girl thing, you got to call me so we can match.
We're supposed to wear pink on Wednesdays, guys.
Yeah.
So I'm wearing pink today, and first thing the girl said, "Oh, Barbie," and I'm like, dang it. By the way, probably on par to be one of the biggest grossing films of all time, the Barbie movie. And yeah, I know it's woke and it promotes women, downgrades men, whatever. Tell me a movie that
Have you seen it?
No, twice.
That's where he bought the shirt for the premiere.
Barbie movie. By the way, coming up 7:10, I went to Fonnie Willis said something else yesterday. She's being kind to the folks that she's indicting. So this is the Georgia RICO Act, different than the federal RICO Act, but basically it says they're crime bosses. It's mob
RICO charges.
Charges, and it's interesting because over the weekend, remember Trump was asked a question by a reporter. Remember his response?
Is there any chance you take a plea deal in Georgia?
We did nothing wrong, and we don't ever take a plea deal.
Yes, sir.
We don't take plea deals. It's a wise guy question. Are you going to change this? The wise guy.
That's a wise guy question. And the RICO Act typically, John, that it deals with mobsters and things like that.
Well, he's got the perfect guy as a co-defendant, the guy who used the RICO Act to prosecute all sorts of people back east, and that's Rudy Giuliani.
Yeah, that's what it's. RICO is basically set up to, yes, and you can use it in situations like this. I don't know, again, Georgia's law is similar, not quite the same as the federal. But when you think of RICO, I'm thinking John Gotti. I'm thinking, Paul Castellano.
Sammy the Bull Gravano.
Well, him and Carmine the Snake Persico, and probably, I would even say Anthony Dux Carolto would be in there too. I mean, that's how long ago. We just don't see it used much anymore.
I want to play some audio from Hillary real quick that proves the point that most all of us smart people know the system is rigged, but we have something really big, impactful for the entire state of Missouri, and kind of the genesis starts today, and it starts right here in mid-Missouri. I want to get to that. But this is Hillary Clinton, MSNBC. Rachel calls Hillary last night like, hey, we know this is coming because, we've been chatting with the DA's office, and we're going to be ready. You want to come be on the show tonight? So Rachel calls the big guns. That's Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton last night, this is prior to the indictment being handed down officially.
I don't know that anybody should be satisfied. This is a terrible moment for our country to have a former president accused of these terribly important crimes. The only satisfaction may be that the system is working.
I agree with her. Their system, the system that's going to go real light on Hunter Biden, the same system that's not going after Joe for his mishandling of documents, but Trump has a court date for his mishandling of documents. I agree with Hillary Clinton for the progressives.
It's working for progressives.
Right.
Okay, fair.
Right? It is. Seriously.
Yeah, she's still a free woman.
Lock her up.
Lock her up today.
Yes, sir.
And this is affecting all of Missouri.
The whole
this
state.
is important and kind of it starts today, in effect.
Basically, there is a ceremonial bill signing ceremony set for today. The first one was yesterday, Brandon, in Forestdale. The next one will be the big one, and I expect a really good crowd. Weather will be perfect. 2:30 today. And for people who followed it, yes, the bill has been signed. This is a ceremonial bill signing. Governor Parson will be at a table with Senator Lincoln Huff. I've got a list of lawmakers. I mean, you name it, Missouri politics. Everybody and anybody will be here at this event. 2:30 at MACC. This bill provides $2.8 billion with a B to rebuild and expand I-70 to 6 lanes from Kansas City to St. Louis. It will start in Columbia. People are invited. I hope there's enough room. That parking lot's pretty big, but they're expecting a pretty good crowd. And Senator Huff really led and of course, Senator Eigel did too. I don't know if Bill Eigel will be there, but Huff will be there. And I can't emphasize enough how big this is. This is huge.
Senator Huff reps, he's in the Senate Springfield area, and this is huge. Here's, for me, the biggest thing about this thing with I-70 is like, Friday, you ever try and go into St. Louis on Friday, 4 o'clock, and all the college kids are heading? No, seriously, the financial impact, the benefit to Missouri, not only with the jobs building it, and then because it's not just about Missouri, by the way. I-70 probably one of the main arteries for transportation.
That's right.
In the country.
Well,
It's huge.
There's 12 million vehicles cross the Roachport Bridge every year, according to MoDOT, and that number has only grown. I agree with Stephanie that it's huge. The only other thing I would add, you mentioned it, hit it on the head, congestion. It costs the state of Missouri $100 to $200 million a year. That's in MoDOT's own report on I-70 and 44 due to people getting stuck in traffic, and these truckers are they basically lose items that are stuck on a truck when they're stuck in traffic. So, yes, it's a huge issue.
You and I ended up parked on separate places of I-70 on the way home in the last year. I know that.
We've done that. Coming up, we're going to be doing your daily DC Rundown with Stephanie Bell.
Well, this guy is going back to jail.
Going back to jail. Who is it? Stephanie has the
Indictment brought during what he calls a dark period for our country. Trump spoke exclusively to Fox News Digital, saying, in his words, the whole world is laughing at the United States.
Super late night indictment endorsement. The DA in Fulton County, Georgia, came out and endorsed President Trump. Late night indictment is what I'm trying to spit out here. That's getting us into today's Daily DC Rundown with Stephanie. There's my Joe Biden impersonation. And Kamala. Man, I can impersonate Joe and Kamala at the same time. Here's Stephanie Bell.
So you might be like us, waking up and thinking, wasn't he already indicted? This is number 4 if you're keeping track at home. New indictment late last night, 98 pages. It names 18 different people, including folks like Rudy Giuliani. At least one outlet, the one as in big letters, the one I'm seeing in now says the big one. This is the big one.
No.
Yes.
The walls are closing in.
And it is the only, not surprises, but the only thing different really is the naming of all of the other folks in the indictment. And then also Georgia has a pretty unusual RICO law, and that they are using in this. The other unusual thing was it maybe leaked yesterday early in the court system. No one is really commenting, but the news folks who were watching this like a hawk were like, this is new, and they downloaded it, but then it got deleted off of the court system, and lots of people are being asked questions, and no one is answering anything. I will tell you, I have never seen anything get prematurely leaked in Missouri. Now, again, I don't practice a lot of criminal law, but usually we are calling the courthouse because in Missouri, you file something, and then it has to be cleared by a second person, right? The clerks review it, and then it gets posted.
I'm sorry, you lost me at premature leakage. I'm sorry.
All right.
That never happens.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
All right, let me get back on track.
All right. Well, but usually I file something, I really want it to post publicly, and the clerks, have a backlog of things. They have to check it off, and then it goes public.
And so typically you too, Hannah?
We are waiting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
By the way, Nathan, let me get back on track here. Nathan, who has served our country valiantly, text 874-9390 regarding Hillary, saying, the system is working. Is it me, or does she just sound angry? Wow, reading that. I agree, Nathan.
She is angry. So I assume we will hear more responses, not only from Trump, but also these other individuals who were named this morning as they're waking up. Maybe they had a long night. Maybe they stayed up to hear the reading of the indictment last night, unlike us. All right. Okay, so Joe Biden is in Wisconsin today. Of course, we heard yesterday that he regrets calling the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act. And in fact, lots of really smart people are saying it had nothing to do to reduce inflation. And in fact, some folks are even saying the law could end up increasing inflation. Nonetheless, he's about to celebrate 1 year of the passage of that bill. And so he's hanging out in Wisconsin the week before the debate in Wisconsin to tout all of his successes.
Christopher Arps has written a great piece for redstate.com. It's a conservative publication, and it's talking about Americans and how they're trying to handle credit card debt under Bidenomics in the Inflation Reduction Act.
Also, back to jail is Sam Bankman-Fried. He was living in his parents' basement, apparently out on bond, but apparently was engaged in tampering with witness testimony. And so the judge said, you got to go back to federal jail. So you can't live in your parents' basement anymore. The only thing we've really gotten an update is they've dropped the campaign finance charges, but he is going to trial.
about how Americans are struggling with credit card debt under Bidenomics. Let's get right to it, Chris, this morning. Now, were you up late enough last night to catch the news of the Trump indictment in Georgia?
Actually, I having a.
You're good, bud. You're on.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm hearing like the show being replayed in my ear, and on the phone.
We'll look at something here on our end and see if we can get that.
Can you guys call me back? Because there's no way I can. I'm hearing the show.
Okay. We'll call you back and see what happens. To err is human. To really foul things up requires a computer. Here's what. So Trump last night, indictment comes down really, really late. And this is after a couple of interesting things. Number one, apparently an indictment, a fake indictment was posted on.
I think it was the actual one. It just was missing a case number, but it had similar charges and names in it.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on in this. And the DA there at Fulton County, her name is Fonnie Willis. She went, as Stephanie Bell calls it, she went to the car wash. As a matter of fact, if you watch the show on our YouTube channel, you'll see Stephanie's kind of in the car wash right now.
I was pitching that to salon owners and said, rather than having to make the appointments, I should be able to just call and say, give me the works, give me the car wash, the hair, the nails, the toes, all the things.
Do it for me.
Should be an option.
And that's what this attorney, the DA there in Fulton County did. She went to like what was the glamour shots? Is that still a thing anymore?
Did you please tell me you never had any glamour? Oh, you definitely did.
She got her hair did. She went to the car wash, as Stephanie Bell calls it, got some new photos, and then came out with this indictment. Christopher Arps is with us. We all straightened out, bud?
Yeah, we're all straightened out. Sorry about that.
Hey, no worries, man. It's not on you. Let me ask you this. Were you up late enough last night to catch the news of this?
I did. I heard I did watch the announcement of the indictment. I did not see the press conference that Fonnie Willis gave, apparently. I went to sleep before that. Woke up about 3 o'clock this morning and then tried to catch up on everything that happened.
And your reaction? I mean, let me put it this way. Is your reaction, is your take on this, is it any different than any of these other indictments? Is it any different than any other time that these people go after Trump?
No, I think this indictment, which they try to say is one of the more serious ones, I put this right up there with the one in New York that people say is frivolous. I mean, if you look at this indictment, they're basically charging President Trump like he's a mafia mob boss. They're charging him under RICO standards. They're also saying that he tampered, Giuliani and some of his minions tampered with voting machines. What was really kind of surprising was Mark Meadows was included in this indictment. Others thought that he would be included in some of the other indictments, and he wasn't, which gave rise to speculation that he was cooperating with Jack Smith. So a big surprise in this indictment was Mark Meadows being included as well. And what he's being charged was he was in the meetings when they were planning this corruption, and he set up calls with some Georgia officials. That's the two charges against him.
When they were allegedly doing it. And so here's something Stephanie uncovered. Stephanie Bell does Daily D.C. Rundown every morning, 6:25. What's happening in D.C.? Here's a headline she uncovered.
It says, the big one. This may be the last of the Trump indictments, but it was the big one. That's the AP.
The Associated Press. The walls are closing in, Chris, and they are still on this. And I want to take a different angle on this, maybe, because we're talking really about the same thing again, one more time, deja vu all over again. Christopher Arps, ChristopherArps.com, hanging out with us here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. There is Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
It's producer Hannah.
Hello.
Marsh is here.
Yes, sir.
My name is Branden Rathert, good friend Christopher Arps. You see him on Newsmax several times a week. He's hanging out with us, knows Missouri politics, and also happens to host an afternoon talk show in St. Louis. So what about this? And I hope I'm not getting too inside baseball here, but I wonder. Every day we come in and we say, okay, here's the news with Trump. And I'm wondering if you separate your media stuff, if it's just Chris who's an informed voter who likes to get involved in some things. Just Chris. Not Chris that's on Newsmax, not Chris on the radio, not Chris for Arps.com, not the Chris that writes for RedState.com, but just Chris. How the Trump stuff, do you turn it off anymore and go, I don't care, it's just more stuff? Just as Chris, how do you deal?
You know, they did a man on the street last week where people were asking, asked about these Trump indictments. And it was surprising because it's been wall to wall, and political junkies like this follow this stuff very closely. So we have kind of an understanding of it. A lot of the people had no idea really what the charges were, what he was being charged with, what was going on. It's just now just a big amalgamation of charges in 4 different jurisdictions. And I think the public really is not all up to speed on this. And I think that could be trouble for Jack Smith, because this could just look like complete overkill, and all the other prosecutors, with 4 separate indictments. You know, guys, the reason why they're calling this the big one in Atlanta is because I think this is the indictment with the most charges, 41 people, 19 people total. But they're calling this the big one because with all of the other indictments against President Trump, the federal indictments, he can pardon himself, or if he is elected president, he can just make the cases go away. If he's indicted in this case in Atlanta in state court, he has no power to pardon himself, or a Republican president will have no power to pardon himself. So I think that's why the libs are all gleeful today and calling this the big one.
Well, we thoroughly enjoyed Hillary Clinton on MSNBC last night saying the system is working, and she's right. It's working for progressives, man. She's not lying.
Well, and I think, Chris, I think you're right. And I think also Georgia has really weird rules about like the governor's authority to grant clemency. And so there's also limited authority for like anybody at the state level to undo, if he's ultimately convicted.
Stephanie, let me ask you this. Sorry, Brandon, to be the questioner. But if Donald Trump is convicted in this state court in Atlanta, does he have any right to take this to the Supreme Court and get it thrown out, or is it just...
I doubt it.
Screwed?
I think he's...
Follow up, maybe, can he pardon himself in a state case?
I think that's what Chris was saying. I don't think so. And I think that's why the Democrats are. And so, he can't do that. Whether or not there's some ability for him to impress upon folks in Georgia to undo or to grant some sort of pardon or clemency, I think Georgia has more restrictive laws around that than Missouri does, for instance. I think Missouri gives the governor a lot of authority, and Georgia's governor doesn't have that same breadth and depth of authority there. But, he's got to get convicted first. And I think, I guess question for you, Chris, we'll turn it back on you. Everyone, I think we heard from the Georgia prosecutor that she wants a trial in 6 months. The folks in the documents case wants a trial in 6 months. And I'm thinking this is working to Trump's advantage, because all he has to say is, well, I'm in trial in Florida in 6 months. I can't have 2 trials on the same day. I've got all these trials. My schedule's filling up pretty fast. But really, if these things don't get heard by the election and he isn't the nominee and, 2 losses and he kind of, goes the way of Eric Greitens and is kind of, do you think they'll keep pursuing it? Do you think, people will still be totally deranged about Trump?
I do. And what I've heard, Stephanie, if there is some type of conflict between the Georgia state trial and the Fed trial, that she will probably defer to Jack Smith. And the federal charges will take precedence. But I think these people have total Trump derangement syndrome. 91 total counts out of these 4 cases. I think they want to bury Donald Trump. I think they want to put a dark mark on his record, and so he'll be a asterisk in the history books. Is 4-time indicted, twice impeached. Just a bad man. I think that's what this is more about, more than anything.
And if you have Trump derangement syndrome, please call 800-662-4357. 800-662-4357. And if that's too many numbers, that's a real number, man. It's 800-662-4357. help.
And Chris, next time you're on Newsmax or on your own show, we'll license the use of Trump indictment fatigue syndrome, which we coined here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri for you, because that's what I have.
Because everybody loves a good tiff, right? Trump indictment fatigue syndrome.
Right.
Yeah. Chris Arps, chrisarps.com. Cool stuff up on his website. I want to talk about that. Impressive article in redstate.com, conservative publication that I would be reading if I were you. As a matter of fact, they're so good. They have Chris write some articles for them. And this is a real thing. This hits close to home. How Americans under Bidenomics and the Inflation Reduction Act. You know what the Inflation Reduction Act doesn't do?
Reduce inflation.
Do that. But Chris wrote an interesting piece regarding credit card debt and how it's affecting us.
Next week on Minutes from the Fed's latest policy meeting and economic data and earnings reports that could shed light on the health of the American consumer.
Coming up at 8:25 this morning, I'm going to do the Morning Bell business news, a little twist only Stephanie Bell can give you, and that kind of dovetails into what we're covering right now. Here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri, I am Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, John Marsh, producer Hannah. Christopher Arps is our guest, ChristopherArps.com. You like Wake Up Mid-Missouri, you're going to love Christopher Arps' website. He also writes for RedState.com. Nice political, conservative publication. And Chris has written an article called Americans Struggle with Record Credit Card Debt Under Bidenomics. This is something that I think a lot of us can relate to. Can you kind of bottom line your article for us, Chris?
Congress is on recess. Congress is on recess this month, and so the Biden administration is going around the country last week and this week touting the IRA, or the Inflation Reduction Act. And as you said, Branden, the Inflation Reduction Act actually did not reduce inflation. It's made it worse. And, you know, under this president, the debt is at $36 trillion. Credit card debt, for the first time ever, Americans owe $1 trillion in credit card debt. That, if you remember, a couple of years ago, for the first time ever, the student loan debt was at $1 trillion. So our country's in a tremendous amount of debt. The Inflation Reduction Act was actually a vehicle for green energy programs, because the president is not going around the country talking about inflation being reduced and prices going down, because they're not. He's talking about green energy projects. You remember last week he was in Arizona and at Grand Canyon talking about the environment instead of reducing inflation. But $1 trillion in credit card debt, that's the first time ever. And it shows that Americans are putting some of their basic necessities on credit cards because they don't have the cash in their bank accounts to buy those things.
And that can jack up credit, because the higher, let's say you got a credit card $10,000 limit, and if you're running at $9,000, $9,500, when you might try to go and get some credit from somewhere else, they're like, well, you're almost tapped out there. Well, yeah, I'm tapped out because, you know, Joe is president. Our guest this morning on Wake Up Mid-Missouri is Christopher Arps, ChristopherArps.com.
Chris, you've been following these stories of these smash and grab robberies out in the big shopping malls, especially out in L.A. and all. I guess the question to you is, and I know we don't have a zero bail policy in St. Louis, but the former prosecutor there was pretty friendly to criminals. I think there's some worries this kind of stuff could spread to the city.
We're seeing it spread. We see it in Chicago. We see it in New York. These young kids today, they have no respect for authority. They have no respect for the law. With social media and TikTok and all of that, they see these smash and grab robberies. So other youth around the world, around the country, have said that they're doing the same thing. And you saw what happened in Chicago. The communist mayor, a new mayor they have up there, was basically saying you can't call them hoodlums or call them thugs or call them mob. You have to call them something else because that insults them. You couple that with these Soros prosecutors who basically have given an incentive to steal. If you steal under $150, you don't go to jail. Well, what do people do? They go in and steal under $150. And they aren't just stealing these products for their own self-gratification. They're taking these products from these stores and they're selling them on the black market. And that's why all of these stores in these downtown metropolitan areas are going out of business. San Francisco, since the pandemic, has a 32% occupancy rate downtown. Just think about that. Now, part of that are people are working at home now, but also is because the crime is out of control and these businesses are leaving.
I laughed the other day in reference to the story that Marsh is talking about, smash and grab up to $100,000 worth of high-end stuff. And the Los Angeles mayor, Karen Bass, said, you are going to be held accountable. That's bull. That's exactly why they're doing that. Sorry. That's exactly why they're doing this. Because they know, that's why these criminals are doing this, because they know they are not going to be held accountable because of people like George Soros-backed prosecutors like Kim Gardner. We see where she is now. We saw what's happened in Baltimore. London Breed, the mayor in San Fran, she was one of the first ones on that defund police. Seven months later, she's in front of the city council Can we get some more money for these cops? So when Karen Bass, the progressive mayor of Los Angeles, says we're going to hold you accountable, my God, she is lying to you. Chris Arps, ChrisForArps.com.
And Brandon, remember, too, there's a shortage of cops. There was a story in the Post-Dispatch just a couple of days ago that showed that the St. Louis Police Department is down hundreds of officers. So, the criminals know that as well. They know the police are understaffed, and they know they have prosecutors that favor criminals.
And we're seeing that even in some towns here in mid-Missouri where, hey, we'll do whatever we can to get some folks from law enforcement. Christopher Arps, ChrisArps.com. Check out his website. Check out that article, redstate.com, about Americans struggling with credit card debt. I think it's something a lot of us mid-Missourians can relate to. Anything else you want to add before we let you go?
One last thing. Happy birthday, Wake Up Mid-Missouri crew. Can't believe it's been 1 year already.
Yay.
And I'm honored to be a guest every Tuesday. Thank you so much.
We appreciate you, man. That's right. It is our birthday, 1 year, and thank you for your support. We do appreciate it. Traffic is backed up at Highway
bill of indictment, charging 19 individuals with violations of Georgia law arising from a criminal conspiracy to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election in this state.
Man, that went down late last night, very likely when a lot of us were in bed. That is the Fulton County, Georgia DA Fonnie Willis announcing the grand jury indictment. A couple of weird things here. Number one, she went on to say, by the way, and how does my hair look? Because this is true stuff. I'm serious. She has been in the process of, as Stephanie Bell says, going to the car wash.
Yeah, I'm doing it today. Actually, I told the salons I should just be able to call and be like, I need the car wash today. The full, give me the works.
It's like I'm going to it's like going to Club Car Wash, and you pay that thing and you get
the wax and the shine and the whole thing.
Everything.
Silicone on the tires.
Yep.
It's like an everything shower, but at the salon.
And that's what this DA in Fulton County. That's what she did. This has been in the works for a while. She's gone and got her hair done.
I like how he's criticizing her, but before we had our wake up photo shoot, which some of those photos are posted, someone was looking like super tan, and he went and got himself a new jacket. I mean, I think when you know you're going to be in the limelight,
I can explain that, though. I spend a lot in the summer. I spend a lot of time outdoors. Mm-hmm. And then I had to get a new jacket because I lost weight.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't have any other things that would fit me.
And a little behind the scenes, our photographer here at Zimmer was really upset with us because all of our complexions were very different colors.
Brandon is pulling a Donald Trump.
Yeah, Brandon was real tan, Stephanie's pretty olive-skinned, and the rest of us were just kind of
I did the car wash.
Well, I think Stephanie was upset by that photo shoot because she wasn't the best looking one in the pictures.
Because you were tanner than I was. Yeah. And I paid for my tan.
Brandon was also rocking the raccoon sunglasses tan line.
Just want to let everybody know we've had a couple calls in the newsroom. People are stuck in traffic right now. There has been a tractor trailer that is overturned in Jefferson City on the tri-level, which is about the worst place you could have a tractor trailer overturned. I just got off the phone with Jefferson City Police. I thought maybe the highway patrol because I didn't know exactly where it was, but the dispatcher told me it's eastbound 54 on the tri-level. A semi has overturned. We've had several calls. They've called into our show, and they've also called over to the Morning Shag, and it's overturned. They're stuck in traffic. Just try to avoid the area. It's really kind of hard to avoid that area, though.
I was going to say, take the alternative route. Get onto I-70. Go to Boonville.
That's it.
Gosh. And if you're right there, seriously, right now, can you call us here at Wake Up Mid-Missouri, 874-9390, even if you just check in for like 30 seconds. We want to know what you're seeing so we can pass that on to other folks. 874-9390 if you're in that tri-level area, which is really, and I tell people this all the time. Of course, we live here. We don't need our GPS to get through that. I'm not kidding. Whenever I have friends come see me in Jefferson City, I tell them now, if you're doing your Google Maps, man, for fun, I'm serious, try it for fun one day. Use your GPS to get somewhere and go through that tri-level coming from, if you're coming from Columbia, you're heading into Jeff City. It flips Google out. It's like it flips out Google Maps like it has Trump derangement syndrome or something. It flips out that bad.
Kind of like bumping into a pinball machine back in the day. It just says tilt.
That's it. And the other thing, I mean, everywhere around it, it's dangerous. I'm just really surprised that thing's still in operation. The worst part of that, and John and I have both covered tractor trailers where the driver was killed. I can remember at least one incident, and it was a horrific crash. Motorcycle, yes, motorcycle crashes as well. But it's just very dangerous, and you have to watch your speeds.
And Houseworth, it is the westbound lane, according to a traffic report I've gotten on my phone and a couple callers and reports that we're getting.
Okay, wait, the dispatcher told me eastbound, but I appreciate them clarifying. Maybe people eastbound are slowing down, but she definitely said eastbound.
And that's why we like to rely on you. You got eyeballs on the street, 874-9390. John, welcome to the show. You at that tri-level area right now?
Yes, I am. I'm on the, it'd be the north side, I guess, of the overpass, and it's directly on the south side. The people coming east on 50 are able to get off and get on 54, so it's just before the ramp that they're using, but from the ramp on back. It's pretty clogged up.
All right, John, man, we appreciate you. We appreciate you calling in with the traffic report, and we appreciate your support of Wake Up Mid-Missouri, and you have a great day, bud.
Thank you. You too.
874.
That's great information.
9390. Okay, it's Wake Up Mid-Missouri. That is Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
There's Brian Houseworth.
It's good to see you.
Marsh is here.
Here, sir.
There's producer Hannah.
Hello.
My name is Branden, I think.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Hannah. 874-9390. Okay, so late last night, and there's a couple of interesting things that were leading up to this announcement yesterday from the Fulton County DA, Fani Willis. It came out late at night, and then somehow some documents got uploaded onto the website before the grand jury had even voted on this.
Yeah, they leaked online on the court's online filing system. You know, we have a Missouri CaseNet that a lot of people are familiar with. I've never seen anything leak prematurely on CaseNet. Most of the time you file something and you're sitting around waiting just because the clerk has to click it through. You know, it doesn't just auto post. So someone reviews it, obviously, before it goes up. And sometimes you have to give them a call and say, we need to try to get this posted sooner. But I've never seen anything just auto post or leak too soon. So that's weird. And
she changed how she phrased that.
Because you guys...
So
I can't use the words I accidentally used earlier.
We do the Wake Up Mid-Missouri podcast, Wake Up Mid-Missouri on demand every time, all the time. Oh, and we have a new app. If you've got the apps for KWOS for 104.5 News Radio, 950 KWOS or 93.9 The Eagle, you want to update those, man. These new apps.
They're pretty cool. And I say that because
it's all right.
I built them. It's fine.
Hannah built them. But they're really, because there's different ways that you can interact with the show. There's new things on there, so I would check that out. But go to the websites, too, because we do podcast the show every day, and it's all the good stuff. It's like the Reader's Digest condensed version. And in the 6 o'clock hour, whenever the podcast gets posted, like in the first 20 minutes of the show this morning, Hannah and I lost it over something that Stephanie innocuously said. It was not her intent. But
that's usually how it goes.
But Hannah and I, sometimes one of the ways that we are like, 52-year-old dude, 23-year-old college grad, about to be married in a couple of weeks. The thing we have in common, sometimes we both have the brain of a 16-year-old, and we own up to
Well, and I will say, from my perspective, I'm not being critical of the clerks. That's why they're there, and that's why in Missouri there is kind of a waiting period. We've got these new redaction rules, and they're kind of the first line of defense from something getting leaked too soon or something that's not supposed to be public getting out there. So I don't know what's going on down in Georgia. It is frustrating because all the states kind of have their own. I would say Missouri has one of the very best, and I've heard that from other attorneys around the country because I have tried to dig stuff up off of other states' websites, and it's terrible, but they need to do something about their system if this stuff is leaking early.
I was asking, you were talking about stuff, documents you can find online. You were talking about CaseNet and stuff like that. I was talking to somebody a couple weeks ago. I'm like, so let's say you meet somebody and you're thinking about dating. This is a dude I was talking to. I'm like, and you meet him and you know the name. I said, what's the first thing you do if you think this might be a relationship? He says, I get onto CaseNet and search their name.
It's like the safe thing to do. Stephanie, we have a friend who didn't look at her date on CaseNet until the second date, found out some pretty scary things about him, and she probably should have known those things before the first date.
I want to get to why this DA in Fulton County, Georgia, is being nice to Trump and what I would say is a BS indictment. But so I go by, my first name is Henry, but I've never gone by Henry in my life. I'm named after Dad, Grandpa, and all that. And at times I was grateful because I was worried, what if somebody gets onto CaseNet and searches Henry Rathert?
I also wonder, do people justify it? I mean, I've heard, online dating and dating apps are so bad. So, what is a deal breaker? But, what do you see on CaseNet? And you're like, I could probably let that slide.
Where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
Axe murderer.
But now I don't care. Whatever's out there is out there. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot here in Missouri. All right, Fani Willis, the DA, Fulton County, Georgia. Fulton County is Atlanta. Late last night, the whole thing is weird. So I was joking earlier about how she's getting her hair done and all this. she has been going through like a makeover, and that's not an exaggeration, leading up to this.
And we knew it was coming. And we actually, I mean, people thought this would have been, I think at the time we thought this was going to be the second indictment. We thought, I mean, they've talked about it for so long, and it was like that Georgia one's still coming, that Georgia one's still coming. And so, and really, if you look at the allegations in, what are we at, 98 pages? None of this is super new. A lot of it came out in the J6 stuff. It's been out in the other indictments. I mean, it's stuff that she has known and we have known for a long time.
But she's being real cool, though.
I am giving the defendants the opportunity to voluntarily surrender no later than noon on Friday, the 25th day of August.
Oh, well, that's very nice of her. I'll give you the
opportunity.
Man, if I were Trump, I wouldn't turn myself in. I'd hunker down at Mar-a-Lago and then call CNN and Fox. And come on, come get me. Alan Dershowitz, famed attorney, typically, I don't say he leans one way or the other. He's straight up, and he goes on Fox and says a lot of things the hosts on Fox don't like. That's one of the things I do appreciate about this guy. He had a really interesting take as it relates to people coming into their political acumen over the past several years. And I want to highlight that. Coming up 8:10, like if it's the one thing you check out coming up after 8 o'clock, it's what he had to say, because it is pretty profound. It is pretty impactful. One of the things we're watching right now, traffic stopped on Highway 54, 50 West exit in Jefferson City at the tri-level. And we're getting some photographs of an overturned semi in that area.
Ironically, a fella named T-Bone texted us a picture, and it looks pretty bad.
Yeah. So be careful in that area. Heading into Jeff City tri-level area is going to be it's going to be a mess this morning. So we're keeping an eye on that for you. 874-9390.
The incident did happen in the westbound lanes, but it's also impacting eastbound traffic. Avoid the area. Eagle listeners are saying the traffic is at a standstill. Again, Jefferson City Police say a tractor trailer has overturned near the tri-level.
Coming up 7:25-ish, we're going to do What's Hot with Hannah.
It is a very special day today in Wake Up history, and I think we should celebrate.
Wow. 7:25-ish, which means it's
7:25.
Let's do What's Hot with Hannah. As we're watching Tri-Level heading to Jeff City, there's an overturned semi. 54 is backed up to the airport coming from Fulton. A lot of different reports. That area around the Tri-Level heading into Jefferson City, a mess right now.
And Brett texted us. He said Highway 54 is backed up to the airport coming from Fulton. He's been trying to get across the bridge for almost 15 minutes.
Yikes. It would be a good day to maybe just go grab breakfast at your local breakfast place, stay put, and then go into work a little bit late.
Well, this is when all the state workers are really flocking in, so...
Hey, boss, I was listening to Wake Up Mid-Missouri, and they just said, forget about it. Don't even try. So I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, sounds great.
We'll write you a note if you need it.
We got your back.
Yeah, so that aside, today is a very important day in Wake Up Mid-Missouri history. I'm going to pull the classic. Brandon, do you know what today is?
No.
No? You forgot?
Am I supposed to know?
John, do you know what today is?
Tuesday.
I do. I know what today is.
Stephanie?
It's Drew's birthday. Happy birthday, Drew.
Aw.
Wow, Drew.
Well, it's also our birthday, guys. Come on.
How about that? Are we allowed to applaud for ourselves?
Uh,
Absolutely.
Woohoo.
Wake Up Mid-Missouri is a whole year old. I've posted some favorite Facebook snapshots from the last year over on the Wake Up Facebook page. But I want to kind of poll the Wake Up family here and see if, people want to text us their favorite Wake Up moments from the last year. So if you want to let us know at 874-9390 some of your favorite moments, Brandon needs help coming up with some because I asked him earlier if he had a favorite moment from the last year, and he said, no, not really.
I said,
I heard it. I think it was a picture. You asked him about favorite photos, and he's like, no.
John, I didn't say I didn't have one. I said, I don't know, but I do know one of my favorite parts.
I've got a good one.
All right, what's yours?
Dick Morris.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
Man, we need to...
It was the hurricane, John.
It was the hurricane.
Dick Morris, who a famed political consultant, was on. I don't even remember what he was talking about.
He had a book, remember?
He had a book, yeah. He's pitching his book.
Yeah, and Marsh asked him about some failed presidential poll or so that he did. And Dick Morris, and he sounded like the penguin from Batman. Well, we had a hurricane that year, and he was rather upset with Marsh.
Telephone lines were all down, so we couldn't do our polling.
Because he was touting how he's always right, and Marsh asked him, "But what about that time you were really wrong?" And he was not pleased.
Shannon texted us, and he said that his favorite moment was when Brandon fell off of his chair. That would also be one of my favoritist moments.
Classic.
I liked the day when we did favorite F words, thanks to Mark Alford.
That's right.
Mark Alford's back on today, but he said Missourians what did he?
F words, or he said the four farming, financial, food.
Farming,
fertilizer,
food and fuel. You guys.
Oh, I thought it was fertilizer.
No,
anyway,
you guys,
but I think it was
people.
so fun because we must have gotten 100 texts that day of your favorite F words, and it really made my morning. We had fun.
One of my favorite moments is, we like to troll our friends on our sister stations as often as possible, right? One of our friends, Trevor, from the Smooth Jazz station here at Zimmer.
It's all Barbie all the time, I thought.
He had gone on an important work trip, and they had posted a photo of him on their Facebook page. He was holding a Wake Up Mid-Missouri can koozie, and they totally didn't notice. So I obviously pointed it out, and it started a whole slew of photoshopped pictures of Trevor in our Wake Up photos.
Mike says
things, Mr. Speaker: food, fuel, and fertilizer.
Congressman Mark Alford on the House floor, food, fuel, and fertilizer. This has been voted one of the favorite moments. It's our 1-year birthday today. And
wow, happy birthday.
Well, thank you. Congressman Mark Alford is here. So we played that audio from the House floor, and it accidentally turned into a thing where people texted their favorite F word. Man.
And we could read most of them.
Oh,
yeah.
You could get in trouble with that.
And it went on and on and on. One of the favorite moments here on our 1-year birthday. Real quickly, before we get to Alford, got to talk about this Trump stuff, and then some very impactful stuff happening at the State Fair yesterday as it relates to the Farm Bill and agriculture. But we've been paying attention to big traffic issue at the tri-level Jeff City.
Yeah, it really is, Brandon. Thank you so much. We have just received word from one of our listeners, Hunter Thomas, who is the campaign manager, by the way, for Scott Fitzpatrick. He is saying that the traffic right now is backed up all the way to the Missouri River Bridge. So this is worse than what we originally thought. We knew it would be bad. Again, we say avoid the area. It's really hard to do once you're stuck there. So just try to avoid the area if you can. I realize it's difficult, but it's at a standstill. It's impacting both the eastbound and westbound lanes, but listeners are saying the incident happened in the westbound lanes. It looks to me, Hannah shared a picture, looks to me like the tractor trailer went off and also is in a grassy area too. Just, give yourself extra time.
If you need a note, I'm hearing from a lot of my friends, I'm going to be late to work. Brian Houseworth is signing the notes as we
I'll do my best. I'll sign it. They won't be able to read my handwriting, but I will sign it.
Congressman to sign them.
Yeah, it looks like a legit doctor's note that way if Houseworth signs it.
This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Stephanie Bell, Brian Houseworth, John Marsh, producer Hannah. I am Branden Rathert. Congressman Mark Alford. State Fair yesterday. Some pretty impactful stuff regarding the Farm Bill, agriculture, the impacts of agriculture here in Missouri. But first, indictment handed down by Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis yesterday. Any different takes, Mark? Any thoughts on this, Congressman, regarding Trump, the latest indictments, what he should do next? Anything you want to say?
I think this is just more of the same. I think this is a persecution of Donald Trump. This has never been about January 6th or what happened after the election. This is about November 5th of 2024, the next presidential election. The left is so scared that Donald Trump is going to be the nominee and get back behind the Resolute desk in the Oval Office. They're going to do anything they can to stop him. And if he were not running for president, none of these indictments would have happened. If you saw yesterday, the document come out on their website there in Fulton County at about 8 Eastern time. And it was by mistake. It was a full indictment before the grand jury had even voted to indict Donald Trump and the others in that indictment. It came out, and that's why the DA had to do the last minute news conference at 11. I was up watching 11:30 last night Central Time. This is more the same. I think now, Trump has been equivocating about doing this debate on Fox on the 23rd. I think he's got to do it now. He needs to go out there swinging and set the record straight.
And I hope that happens. That debate coming up next Wednesday on the 23rd. Listening session, town hall kind of thing, State Fair yesterday, Farm Bill. What did you hear yesterday, Congressman?
Well, man, what a great event. We had 400 people there at the Newport Pavilion at the State Fair. Governor Parson was there, Lieutenant Governor Kehoe. We had some bipartisan members there of Congress. Jonathan Jackson, son of Jesse Jackson, came from Chicago, Illinois. He's on the Ag Committee as well. And in fact, he stayed at my house tonight. We're taking the airport today. This is a bipartisan bill. This is not a Democrat issue, not a Republican issue. This is an American issue. We've got to get the Farm Bill right. And we've heard some very important things from constituents yesterday talking about we need more prompt payments on insurance claims for crop insurance. We need to keep crop insurance separate from the conservation programs. We need to update the reference prices for crops, especially for rice. Did you know that rice it's down in Jason Smith's district, really, but it is the fourth largest crop in the state of Missouri. We need to make sure that the labeling for this fake meat that they're growing in labs and trying to sell the American people is not labeled as meat. We heard that loud and clear from our beef producers. We don't want to get in the situation that we had with almond milk before it's too late. Almond milk is not milk. Milk producers are very upset that they're using that term. And so we've got to make sure that we get that right. We also need to update our eligibility for new pond construction for our livestock. We're seeing a big problem now, especially in the 4th Congressional District, where we've had 2 consecutive years of a level 4, D4 drought there. These ponds are drying up. We need to build new ponds. We need to provide a little money for our producers to do that so the animals can drink.
Congressman, I appreciate you joining us. I do think, I've always said this, agriculture is one of the few issues, even in Washington, even in today, this day and age, it is bipartisan. I think that is very interesting. Congressman Jonathan Jackson, who I saw the pictures, you're going to take him to the airport, and he stayed at your house. One of his big things, and I'd like you to address this, one of his big issues is actually something you've championed, and that is child nutrition and also hunger dealing with the elderly. Talk about that, and also the fact that the two of you disagree on many things, I'm sure, but on this agriculture issue, I'm sure you both agree.
We disagree on a lot. In fact, we stayed up last night and outside and had a little cigar and a little bourbon and talked about a lot of different issues facing America right now. I think one of the biggest issues is nutrition. Look, Republicans are not mean people who want to take food away from people, but we've got to make sure that the eligibility requirements are in place. We want to go back to the pre-COVID era, the SNAP benefits. We are moving up the age requirement from 49 to 54 if you're able-bodied, you don't have dependents, you are not in that you should be in either a job training program, you should have a job or be looking for a job. I think that is very reasonable. When it comes to our elderly, there are a lot of elderly who fall in these categories, and the Democrats are trying to tell you that 49 is elderly. That is not elderly. But the truly elderly...
Come on, man.
Yeah, exactly. That is not elderly.
I'm 52, so, Mark. Man.
I know. I turned 60 in October, and I was on that House floor saying, look, folks, 60 is not old. If you can work, get out and look for a job. But there are truly people who need food, and as a nation as rich as ours should not be letting people go hungry who truly need it. The average person who's a SNAP recipient, it's only for I think 90 days is the average person on a SNAP recipient. It could be a little bit longer than that. I need to check the facts on that. But I do know that the average per week payout is $258. That does not go very far when you're trying to feed a family. It's supplemental. It's not supposed to buy all your groceries, and it needs to be nutritional. We got to get nutrition back in the SNAP program.
Congressman Mark Alford hanging out with us on Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
Congressman, talking about older folks, what's going on Capitol Hill with the discussions in the committees on health and education? What we're getting at Medicare, Social Security. We heard the numbers come out of D.C. saying it could be insolvent in 10 years.
Well, we all know that there's problems with the funding of Medicare and Medicaid. I want to make it quite clear, although the Democrats, including the President of the United States, who stood up at the rostrum there in the U.S. House and told America during a State of the Union that Republicans are trying to cut Grandma's Medicare benefits, that is not true. We are not taking a carving knife to Medicare. I think, that's not really my bailiwick. That's in a totally different committee, but I think every Republican is concerned about trying to get Medicare to a level of solvency that we can honor the commitments that we've made to people, that and Social Security. The problem is the left will try to demonize. I hate that about Washington. That they just come out and tell lies that we're trying to do things we're not, to try to scare people, and so that America will see us as the bad guys, and that's not the case.
You had mentioned earlier that one of the farmers' concerns is we don't want to call fake meat beef. What's the preferred term for fake meat? What do they want us to call it?
Have you ever seen, well, I'm not going to go there. See, when I was on TV, I could get away with a lot of jokes and humor that I cannot do as a congressman now. So I'm My wife is very proud of me now that I'm starting to develop a filter. I don't know, but it's not going to be meat. Call it goo. I don't know. They've got to come up with a different term.
Didn't we talk
when you
about
go to the
pink
grocery
sludge or something? Didn't we? Wasn't there an article
Sludge,
about that?
it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, this filter
slime.
that you've developed is a real bummer for us.
I know. I'm going to keep a diary of things that I could have said, but I didn't.
Yes.
And maybe publish it after I'm out of office.
All right. Congressman Mark Alford this morning here on Wake Up We'll call it sludge, whatever you want to call it. Before we let you go, we talk about the economy and how things are going and how it's bad. There's a lot of negative stuff in the news. Can you leave us a little bit of hope before we let you get on with your day, Congressman? Something positive?
Well, look, I know that we are living in troubled times in America, and Jonathan and I were talking about that last night. We've got to restore hope in America. We've got to find some things that we have common ground in or on and work towards those goals. I think restoring hope in America is one of the things that I think you see that in Tim Scott right now. If you listen to his speeches on the stump, he's talking about not being a nation of victims, but being a nation of victors and looking for the hope that lies within us, that we live in the greatest nation ever. And we've got to stop concentrating on the things that divide us and concentrate on the things that unite us and build on those. And I want to do that in Congress. I want to inspire people to greatness like President Ronald Reagan did in the 80s.
Congressman Mark Alford last night hosting Democrat Congressman from Illinois, Jonathan Jackson. I think that's a very shareable story when you get into work this morning. Congressman, thank you for your time on the show this morning. You have a great day.
You too.
And happy birthday. So did you just hang up on the congressman?
In the middle of him trying to tell us happy birthday, no less.
It is our 1-year birthday and some cool texts this morning. So Hannah had an interesting question for you.
Yeah, we're celebrating 1 year of Wake Up Mid-Missouri, so we want to know what your favorite wake-up moment from the last year is.
874-9390. Traffic mess, the tri-level heading into Jefferson City. Coming up a few minutes from now, that would be all except for this. What do you have for us, Marsh?
We'll be getting spunky with it.
We're getting... Great.
Oh, no.
Make us laugh, John.
With stay tuned. With the cost of in vitro fertilization skyrocketing, some aspiring moms are turning to the black market for donations. One round of IVF can cost up to $30,000, so some mothers and same-sex couples are turning now to Facebook groups where men donate for free but often require, wait for it, natural insemination.
Oh.
better known as unprotected sex. So for those who turn down the natural insemination line, donors will sometimes hand off their genetic material in parking lots or even the Starbucks bathroom. Case in point, Nicole and her wife drove from Kentucky to Ohio to pick up a donation from a gentleman in a casino. She says he basically put the donation in a Go Cup and handed it to us. It was very weird. One of the largest such Facebook groups, Sperm Donation USA, has 24,000 proud members.
You can't pay for it, right? Because then it would be prostitution, or you are paying for it.
I don't know.
Well, are you paying for the service or the product?
Remember, there was the rapper. Who was the rapper who put hot sauce in the? Do you remember this story? Okay.
Nope.
He was wearing. Can I say
protection?
And he put hot sauce in it afterwards, so because he was nervous people were going to try to artificially inseminate themselves for the money. And
I have heard of this.
It was I don't know that I'll have to look it up.
By the way, when kids go back to school here,
Drake.
It was Drake. I was gonna. Yeah, that sounds like a Drake thing.
In the next few days and weeks, some of the content here on the show will change. So, Mom, Dad, don't fret.
Will it though?
Probably not. Well,
no,
my
for the
reaction is like, you mean I can get paid for that?
If Brandon zeroes in on this as potential side hustle, I guess.
But like doing it just. The sneaky way doesn't sound like a good idea, because when you go through, a bank, they have all of the genetic screening, right? Like family history. You get a full workup of this person. I'm not sure getting it in a Starbucks bathroom is the best.
Or at
move.
a casino.
Yeah. I saw someone online and they had told a story and they said, I was an older woman. And I decided so I went to Europe. I had a really fun summer and didn't have to pay.
Really?
Yeah.
So went with the intent, didn't tell whoever it was.
And doesn't care and said.
I don't know if that's very ethical.
I don't either. I wouldn't.
I don't know.
We're not giving out advice here. I'm just saying I heard a story.
That's true. Hannah with her ag degree, it's one of those kind of things, if they're artificially inseminating livestock, they have the breeding information and everything, because you don't want your Santa Gratuitous to turn out to be a Hereford.
Right. And I'm gonna go real serious on you for a minute. Inflation is, obviously these things are really expensive, and it's making everything more expensive. And no, seriously. The prices for this particular thing has been going up even before inflationary pressures. And I think, if you've ever struggled with infertility, it's a very serious thing, and it is absolutely life-consuming and heartbreaking and awful. And the lengths that some people have to go through, especially when you can't afford it. As someone who was adopted, as having friends who've done this, it's horrible what we put people through who really want to have a family.
Thanks, Joe. Now people having to buy semen off the streets because of Bidenomics. Coming up a little bit. By the way, we are celebrating our 1 year.
we listen to you.
Get ready, pal. And now, here's your host, Branden Rathert.
I don't know that anybody should be satisfied. This is a terrible moment for our country to have a former president accused of these terribly important crimes. The only satisfaction may be that the system is working.
She's right. The system is working.
Where did she come from?
Hillary Clinton. She's right. The system is working for progressives, i.e. Hunter Biden's sweetheart deal, i.e. Trump going to court over mishandling classified documents. Biden's court date, I'll defer to our attorney here. When is Biden's court date over mishandling documents? Okay.
Not on the docket.
Not on the docket. Hillary Clinton is right. The system is working. This after the indictment announced yesterday. If you haven't heard, a lot of weird circumstances surrounding this. Documents get uploaded before the grand jury even voted on this. I'm telling you, man, that is proof. That's undeniable proof. They're chomping at the bit. Somebody accidentally uploaded this indictment before it was voted on. How does that happen?
Good question.
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
No.
In Missouri, you file something and then the clerk has to review it, or somebody in the clerk's office, and then it gets posted. So oftentimes there's 24 to 48 hours before it goes public. I've never seen anything get leaked prematurely.
So there's proof in my mind. Come on, guys. I'm trying to be serious here for a minute.
Back to my kicker story. I guess. Yeah.
Wow. If you missed that's and that would be all except for this with John Marsh. My goodness, y'all make me blush, and I think I'm the cool one in the room. I'm more lenient on some of this stuff than you guys are, and you all embarrassing.
If you have to tell everyone that you're the cool one in the room, you're not.
And so in this DA in Fulton County, by the way, she had been going, as Steph calls, she'd been going to the car wash. She'd been getting her hair done. She's been getting made up. She's been doing all these treatments. She's been getting new press photos. This is all true in anticipation of this. This is her moment. This is her campaigning for whatever is next in office. Congressman Mark Alford, who was here about half an hour ago talking about the Farm Bill hearing he did yesterday at the State Fair, he said one of the things that really struck out to me, he said, I especially hope Trump does this debate next week. Can you imagine? They're monster ratings anyway, but if Trump is there after what happened, it's going to be serious. I want to highlight, though, something really interesting. So Trump he's been in the zeitgeist for at the very least 8 years in the political realm. An interesting take that I want to cover, but first we've also got some serious traffic stuff in Jefferson City starting to affect other parts now.
Yeah, we are there. The Highway Patrol has put out a tweet with a picture that really kind of paints the picture here, and it's not just the tri-level right now. It is the tractor trailer overturned on the tri-level and then kind of went down a hill based on at least part of that semi, and that's really causing problems. They've got to be able to get special equipment to get that out. But the Highway Patrol says is now causing significant traffic delays on westbound Highway 54, southbound Highway 63. They run together there, and westbound 94. And the biggest, 94 is tied up as well. And the biggest problem, Brandon, is the folks are coming in. A lot of people from Columbia go to work in Jeff City, and they're stuck. They can't get off. There's nowhere for them to pull in because there's no, so it's also impacting for people driving that are south on 63 going to Jeff City. Make sure you slow down because you can come over that hill and it can come up on you pretty quick.
We've also this morning been sharing favorite memories on Wake Up Mid-Missouri's first birthday. One whole year of Wake Up Mid-Missouri. And members of the Wake Up fam have been texting us at 874-9390, some of their favorite memories. And I have a question about Casey's text, and it's for you, Mr. Rathert. Casey texted us. He said, "Happy birthday, everyone. Hope you all are having a good day." He said, "Brandon, good luck on your new side hustle."
Again.
Is there anything you need to tell me?
Again, I think going back to, and that would be all except for this with John Marsh, which was talking about, John, will you recap your story for us, please?
In vitro fertilization, very expensive now, can cost up to $30,000, and there are people taking alternative plans into their own hands, so to speak.
It's gone black market in effect. because of
Facebook
Bidenomics.
Marketplace is actually where it's gone.
Thanks, Joe.
So does Casey know something about you, Brandon, that the rest of us don't?
No, but while we're at it, listen, $50, $100.
The Morning Bell was supposed to be an app outing you. Are you a member of this Facebook group, Brandon? Is it outing your side hustle?
Well, if they're going to the black market, and some people are like doing it for free, I'm like,
if you don't do it legit with the paperwork, though, could that person try to hit you up for child support?
You know, I don't know. And I don't know. Let's move forward.
Sign a waiver, get a lawyer or something, right? I don't know.
Yeah, Stephanie Bell is open for...
degenerate from traffic accidents on the tri-level to this, right?
How would I even have this conversation with Stephanie Bell, who sits to the left of me every morning? Hey, Steph, listen, I'm going into business.
I got this side hustle.
Can you draw up the paperwork, and how should I? I could never have that conversation.
Ooh, another good memory, karaoke Brian Houseworth. Shannon says, another great memory for me was when Brian sung the Jeffersons theme song. But I think anytime we get
times, actually, but yes.
Anytime we get karaoke, Brian, I'm having a good day.
That was a fun day. That was ad libbed, and we had a lot of fun.
Unlike the fun with the armadillo.
Yeah, that wasn't so fun.
I think at 8:35, here, like some of the great moments like this.
Good times, easy credit ripoffs.
Yes.
Dynamite. We lucky we got 'em. Good times.
John Amos is much better than me, but it's a thought that counts.
Great moment from the show. 8:35, the moment. John Marsh, man, frustrated. Dick Morris, that's incredible. And oops from Stephanie Bell. Actually, we have a couple of oopses from Stephanie Bell. And one of the things that Hannah got really upset about, we'll do some of those coming up at 8:35. Welcome into the show. It's Wake Up Mid-Missouri. So that is Stephanie. There is producer Hannah.
Hello.
By the way, she's put together, we have new apps for 104.5 News Radio 950 KWOS and 93.9 The Eagle. If you already have the apps, delete and re-up. I don't know how you do it.
You just got to update the app.
Update the app. Tap the app, and then you update in there. Tap that app. It's really...
Back to that again, huh?
Tap that app, and I'll give you $50.
Oh.
You can't put that on a license plate. Definitely rejected.
Hannah has put together some really cool apps. So tap that app and check out the new apps. Okay, so yesterday.
And the $50 that you will receive comes from Brandon's paycheck and not mine.
It is super helpful, actually. You can go back and listen to all the podcasts are right there, the news stories. It's all in one place. Whereas I think before you just had a big play button and really the app, you could live stream. Now you can live stream and you can listen to the stuff that's, you can listen to, if you didn't catch the morning show, you can listen to it later. You can listen to the stuff that was on the weekend. It's great.
And while we are live, you can actually find the video feed directly on the home screen of the app.
Ooh.
So, and we're pretty much all across mid-Missouri. There's very few places I don't think you can pick up Wake Up Mid-Missouri if you're listening on 104.5 FM or 93.9 FM or 950 AM. So pretty much throughout all of mid-Missouri. But when you get into those places, when you're outside of listening range, you tap the app and boom, there we are. Trump indicted yesterday. I want to do this quick take because there's really nothing new that's to be said. We get it. We know. Yep, they're just after him. It continues. Alan Dershowitz, Fox News, brought up a really interesting point on Fox.
Is worse because this affects the future. Our young people are being told due process doesn't matter. Free speech doesn't matter. Just get Trump.
Now think about that. 8 years ago, summer of 2015, Trump said, I'm making it official. I know I've talked about it before, but now I'm making it official. And he announced. So let's say somebody, John, who was 18 8 years ago, I can do the math on this. They're 26 years old now. Maybe starting to come into their political acumen, starting to pay attention because they ain't got no money. And this is what they know because of the national news outlets and their treatment of Republicans, their treatment of conservatives, their treatment of Trump, their treatment of anybody who thinks differently than they do. Somebody who is of voting age, the year that Trump announced, now 26, This is what they know. Or even, let's say, somebody who is 25, 30 years old. Maybe they hadn't been paying attention to politics, and now they're paying attention. Somebody who is 30 years old. They're almost 40 now. 10 years in their 30s. I think some pretty important, formative years for your political understandings. Their entire 30s, the decade of the 30s, they think this is what's normal. And Stephanie, since you're getting ready to jump out of the 30s and into the 40s.
Oh, come on. Come on.
But really, Hannah was 15 years old when Trump announced. This is what Hannah has known, what these national news outlets do to Trump, what they do to smart people like us, what they do to conservatives. This is what they know.
Yeah, and I think of it kind of like COVID. I mean, I had a kid who COVID happened in kindergarten. And so then, second grade, they finally go back to regular school. And they're, and I think what we heard from teachers and caregivers was like, these kids they have no idea how to behave. And, but they didn't know anything but COVID school. And so, I mean, it's crazy that we've got, young adults now. I mean, 30-year-old, you might be starting a family, young adults who this is to them, this is politics.
That's what they know. And that's the frustrating, scary part of it is these people. Again, the future is Dershowitz. We think about the future and I'm like, man, what he said, I'm like, that is pretty profound when you think how long this has been going on. I envisioned Hillary this morning, John, up and she put on like some really old, nasty baby blue bathrobe that's, old and is matted. And she was sitting there eating Cocoa Puffs this morning, just watching the news, just like, almost like tailgating.
Yeah, one word for Hillary, right? Benghazi.
Well, and you hear a little bit of this reflected in that new song that blew up this whole week. And it's really kind of a criticism of D.C. And I think the artist, I forget his name now, but who is it? Oliver Anthony. This Richmond, north of Richmond, which is talking about the swamp, basically. But I think he was asked, what are your politics? And he basically said, I'm kind of fed up with it all, both sides. And I think you're seeing a lot of folks, and I don't know, maybe he's in that 30 age range. Mm-hmm. But I think you're getting a lot of young people raising up and seeing the current state of affairs and saying, I don't agree with any of it.
Just tired of it all. And I would play some of that song for you, but there are some wordy dirds in it, and I haven't had a chance to. And Hannah doesn't like when we just, I don't know, let's play and see what happens.
Yeah, no, not a fan of that one.
She is not a fan of that. All right, coming up, 8:25, we're going to be doing the Morning Bell business news, a little twist only Stephanie Bell can give you.
Well, if you have this app on Anti-mask here at Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Up next, we will have Miranda Lambert.
Voted as one of the top moments. So one year ago today, Wake Up Mid-Missouri had gone Missouri-wide in effect. 1 year we've been doing that. It's a birthday, folks. Texting 874-9390. Favorite moments of the show, and that's a relatively recent moment. Stephanie teased Miranda Lambert, country superstar. How was she when she was on the show?
Kind of rude.
Was she? Was she as rude as Dick Morris? John?
No.
She threw a mic at Stephanie.
Some more top moments from the show. We'll do that at 8:35. And hear the moment when Marsh upset famed political consultant, worked in the Clinton administration, Dick Morris. It was a great moment. Right now, it's 8:25. Time for the Morning Bell Business News. Little twist. Only Stephanie Bell can give you.
Futures are in the red this morning. S&P down just about 0.5%. NASDAQ at about 1/3%. Dow down even more than that. As the market sets to open, and we are giving you a trigger warning about this app. I saw this article and I thought, oh, no big deal. We're not oversharing on this app. I don't overshare. People would accuse me of oversharing, mainly selfies, but about like your private information. And I thought, well, I have this app, but when it comes to this app, it took me a while to get it. And now I understand that I was not using it actually correctly, but I'm not the only one who's been duped. So in just 10 minutes, BuzzFeed found President Biden's account. Now, this has been a little bit ago. And this is, do you have Venmo? I have Venmo. You don't have it?
Nope.
All right, Hannah has it, I know.
I use Venmo for everything.
I know. I can see all of your history and your oversharing.
Really?
Yeah.
I better check my Venmo.
I didn't know this. So BuzzFeed found President Biden's Venmo, and it revealed the Venmo accounts of the first family, including his children, grandchildren, and senior White House officials. Because instead of opting in, it's like, do you want other people to see your friends list? It automatically shows whoever. So it takes your phone contacts, whatever contacts are in your phone. Obviously, your Venmo account's connected to your phone. And then if you don't turn it off, I can go to your profile like Brandon, click Brandon's friends, and it shows me basically everyone who's in your phone contacts. So their Venmo account, not their phone number. Right. But still, just the connection itself can reveal really interesting things about who's in your phone book.
We could see Brandon's clientele.
Yes, you could. Now, funny story. So BuzzFeed immediately contacted the Biden administration, and they took it down. Obviously, potential national security concern, and they didn't publish who was in his address book. But previously, apparently, it revealed who The Bachelor was. That people who are obsessed with The Bachelor do all sorts of digging, and they ended up figuring out that these two people who were because they're already together, but you haven't seen the show, and they were going out to dinner and sharing stuff. And so they were connected on Venmo, and that's how it got revealed who The Bachelor was. So I realized I had not toggled off my friends list. If you have Venmo, go to privacy settings, friends list, and select private. Also, toggle off appear in other users' friends list.
on human cadavers for all these years.
So gross.
I wonder how much were these people paying for body parts and stuff?
Well, they accepted over
An arm and a leg.
These two.
One of the great moments in the first year of Wake Up Mid-Missouri being syndicated across the better part of the state. We were talking about body parts. Guest co-host that morning, Ashley Emmel, and we were talking people buying body parts. And we asked Hannah, well, how much do body parts cost? And
an arm and a leg.
And that's, according to some of our texts, one of the favorite moments from Wake Up Mid-Missouri. 1 year today.
Yeah, Jackie says she loved the expired license plate challenge.
Wow. We got a picture the other day. This was not even a temporary tag thing. It was a sticker, 5 years expired. It was amazing. People in traffic that day taking pictures. And by the way, don't text and drive unless you're texting 874-9390.
No.
Do it safely.
It's okay. Least. Everyone's parked on Highway 54.
Where are we with that, Marsh? Still looking tri-level Jeff City. Been a mess for a while. Traffic backing up all over the place.
Yeah, we were getting reports at one point in time. Don't know now. Traffic backed up coming into Jefferson City all the way up to Holt Summit.
So it's a mess. So if you got to get in there today, it's still, and what we're seeing, I think authorities are saying, and it still could be a while. So if you can find, the different way into Jefferson City via Boonville or Sedalia.
I think Brian said the tractor trailer tipped over and then went downhill, and he meant literally and figuratively. And they said, yeah, it's going to take special equipment to get that out. So you might just work from home for a bit this morning.
We got your back on this one. Let's Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Good morning, Steph.
Good morning.
Hello, Hannah.
Howdy ho.
Hannah's been busy. Great story. Morning Bell, 8:25. Do it every morning. Business news, little twist, Stephanie. And this, I'm not on the Venmo. This fascinates me.
The Venmo.
The Venmo. Apparently, if you just download it and start using it, which I did, and I hate Venmo. I've resisted until I went to a concert, or like a smaller concert, and you had to Venmo to request songs. And so I was like, of course. And so I was like, okay, I'll get it. And just quickly, here's $10, play my favorite song. And didn't think twice. Mm-hmm. And then I read this article and it says Venmo could be showing everyone on Venmo who's in your phone contacts list. And I said, I didn't, because usually when an app says, do you want to use your contacts? I'm always like, no, thank you. Venmo does it automatically unless then you go into your Venmo account and turn that off. And so, for example, apparently it outed a lot of personal contacts of Joe Biden until they realized he had a public Venmo account. It revealed who won The Bachelor, I guess, early one time. It's also and then also you can I think, Hannah, and you can put in there why you're paying someone if you so
the little
choose.
memo line.
And that's the fascinating part, because while Hannah is changing her Venmo account so we can't see it anymore, we're reading Hannah's transactions, which apparently anybody could see. And they're darling, by the way.
It's a whole bunch of kissy faces between the fiance and I.
And Din Din. There was Din Din one night, apparently.
Yeah, Din Din.
There's a lot of groceries and gas between you and some other folks who I assume. But if you're going on dates and splitting the bill then you're going to be outed by Venmo. If you're taking money from your mom, you're outed. I mean, there's just a lot of really weird details that I'm nervous about the app altogether.
John, the point of the story, get permission before you tap that app. There's producer Hannah.
Oh, my God.
John Marsh is here.
Or if you are doing that, maybe
Not
don't
for
put it in the
long.
details of your Venmo because other people will see it.
This is our first and last birthday here at Wake Up Missouri.
So
365 days.
But people, literally people I think have gotten charged because they were like putting weed emojis. And this was before it was legal. And like Venmoing, their dealer, like, here's my money for my weed. And of course, the government can see that.
Well, and there was also that thing a while back for business owners who were using Venmo. Mm-hmm. Like, if you go to get your haircut and you Venmo, your hairdresser, if you use a haircut emoji, like Venmo could potentially pick up on that. Or if you put in the memo line something about a haircut. And there was some sort of weird tax thing.
Yeah,
so.
If you were getting more than, I think, $600 via Venmo, they were going to start taxing you on it. And yeah, you're not supposed to, obviously you're supposed to be reporting that as income. And so I think the government said they could at least look at your Venmo and make sure that you're not taking essentially cash under the table.
Yeah, so I do random emojis sometimes just to throw them off, I guess.
Hannah.
What?
874-9390. Great moment from the show is John Marsh. Do you want to set this up a little bit, John?
We talked to Dick Morris, nationally renowned political consultant. Just ask him about what was it, 2012? It was Mitt Romney, and he kind of called that one wrong in the presidential race.
And he was on our show bragging about how good he was.
Dick, I know back in 2012 that you were the guy who was all about Mitt Romney winning the presidency in a landslide and all. That didn't happen. For you, lessons learned.
Yeah, well, it's ridiculous. I don't want to go back 10 years, but the reason that prediction was wrong is because of the hurricane.
He got flustered. So he said he didn't want to go back 10 years after we had gone back like 14 years and talked about that election, which he nailed. He wanted to go back 14 years, but didn't want to go back 10 years. And how did he explain the hurricane, John? How did that affect his call?
He explained it because of the major hurricane. I think it was it Sandy? I don't know. But his take on it was, well, it knocked down phone lines and power lines, and we were unable to do our polling. It was like, okay.
Which, who answers those polls anyways?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But he was off the money on that one.
And he was rude. I mean, he deserved that because I think he was the one who called in and he wouldn't even wait. He was like, I'm not going to wait on hold for two. So he was rude to Hannah when he called in, and he was just rude the whole time.
Yeah. One other high-profile guest that has been incredibly rude to Hannah that kind of changes. Well, I already had preconceived notions about the dude, but he was a good guest. The other guy that was rude, Hannah, you remember?
Oh yeah, Bill O'Reilly.
Bill O'Reilly was on the show, and how did he handle that when we reached out to him? So he knew. We talked. Said, "Yeah, Bill, you come on this time." He's like, "Sure, we're good." He's all friendly, and then a producer calls. What was his reaction to you when you called him?
He didn't want to be put on hold. He didn't like that we weren't 100% ready for him, even though it was going to be all of about 2 minutes. So, yeah, he hung up on me, told me to call him back when we were ready. And then he was real bubbly and delightful. As soon as he hit the airwaves, it was a complete 180.
Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff I don't like when you're fake. You're a hypocrite. You want people to, and I know because I've done this. Believe me, in my day, I've done this. I want people to think of something about me that's not true because I had low self-esteem, whatever. I want you to, and it's kind of like what that was with Bill O'Reilly. He came on and he's nice and gregarious, but when you have an actual dealing with him, that he wasn't living up to that. And I'm not saying that to criticize the guy. I'm just saying it as a point of fact. That was our experience with him. This Richmond of North of Richmond song. Have you heard of this? I don't know. You may have heard people talk about it. We have some audio of the song. And you know what? Because sometimes you get those conservative songs that espouse conservative values and the conservatives get on it and Republicans, oh man, listen to this song. And you hear it and it's like, yeah, it's some good stuff. But the song, frankly, it sucks. This is a good song. Like, the song is good.
It is. This guy, what's his name? Anthony.
His name is Oliver Anthony.
Oliver Anthony. He looks, I keep wanting to call him Tyler. He looks like Tyler Childers, and his voice and his song sounds like Tyler Childers. He's kind of got red hair, a big burly beard, and they're calling it the blue collar anthem of the summer.
Yeah. And this guy's, apparently, his story is it was during COVID stuff, and I guess he putzed around on the guitar a little bit, but during COVID, he's in the house, and he just started like doing some music, kind of, he got more into it, and he did this song, and like we've had text about it. I had a woman who's very involved in the pro-life movement here in Missouri. Her name is Eva. She Facebook said, "Have you heard this song?" I'm like, yes. We have. As a matter of fact, we reached out to him trying to get him on the show. It's a really good song. We're going to highlight it here in just a couple of minutes.
It's been edited, right?
Yes, that's why we didn't do it earlier. We had to fix it up a little bit, and it's really good. Anybody ever see the movie Blind Side? Starred Sandra Bullock, Tim McGraw as the parents of this guy who went on to have a pretty substantial NFL career, Michael Oher.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, it was a really, really good movie. This dude, Michael Oher, he's suing the Tuohys. He's saying basically he said he didn't.
What?
Yeah, he's suing them. He's saying in effect, he says he didn't get any money from the movie. He says that they, in effect, they tricked him into signing them as conservators instead of adoption, and he did it when he was 18. He also says, he says, man, they got a lot of money for that movie. Each family member got $225,000 for the rights, and then they each get like 2% of the profits. I think the movie's amassed over $300 million over the years, and he's saying it's all BS. And the other thing he says is that he didn't like the way he was portrayed in the movie, and he's said that for years because they portrayed him in the movie as kind of like this big bumbling kind of idiot. John, kind of, is that an accurate assessment?
Mm-hmm.
They kind of portrayed him as just, and he said that wasn't him at all. And my first reaction is like, you're suing Sandra Bullock and Tim McGraw? Really? I'm serious. I'm like, you can't sue Sandra and Tim. They were so good. And it's like, no, real life. Apparently, at this point, the Tuohys have not responded to the lawsuit.
Well, and I was talking to Cousin Andy out in the newsroom yesterday when this kind of came out, and I was telling Andy that this is one of those things that should be easily proven or disproven just looking at the legal paperwork that was filed. You know, were there adoption paperwork filed, or was it conservatorship paperwork that was filed? And it should be settled fairly quickly, I would think.
And we'll see. I think an interesting story. I thought, that was my first reaction. You can't sue Tim and Sandra. Coming up, we're going to be doing some leftovers. We talk about recalls, whether it's cars and food. A recall, I've never seen a recall and it's happening in Missouri. We're going to do that coming up about 5 minutes from for $50. This has to do with and that would be all except for this. John did a story. Artificial in vitro fertilization is going black market because of Bidenomics. And apparently a vial of the stuff goes for $400 to $2,000. So way underselling it for $50. So here's the dude we've been talking about. We'll bump her out with Oliver Anthony. This is Rich
on 93.9 The Eagle. Enjoy.
All right. The time of the show when we get right before we get into my dad's favorite show, the Gary Nolan Show. Here. And I wanted to mention this, another favorite moment of the show. One of our listeners said the times that you guys tried translating some of the Joe Biden stuff, which was a couple of months ago.
I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize true international effort to pressure.
True international effort to pressure. That was a great moment on the show. We appreciate the vote, and this was another one of the things we were trying to translate, just because, Joe says stuff. He goes Kamala sometimes. He does word salad, and he goes on.
Brock and I think it's a right for people to have bad health care.
You got your bad health care? Does Gary Nolan have his bad health care?
I wonder if the star of the Gary Nolan Show, Brian Hansen, would be interested in an encore performance this morning.
Would the star of the Gary Nolan Show try to translate this?
My bus been white.
My bus been white. We had no idea what he was saying there. Marsh, you got anything for leftovers?
Yeah, we've got an update on the accident in Jefferson City at the tri-level. Heard from a law officer, said I just went by the accident. 18-wheeler was blocking southbound 54 south of the tri-level. Traffic on 63 coming into Jefferson City backed up all the way to Ammo Alley.
And I have this. By the way, I've learned something new recently since the legalization of marijuana in Missouri. I said, weed's illegal. Weed's illegal. I was chatting with somebody the other day. Now, they have a medical marijuana card. But one of the things I'm learning, he says, you shouldn't refer to it as weed. I'm like, how come? He's like, well, that's like referring to people who go and smash and grab and steal $100,000 worth of bags and jewelry. That's like calling them thugs. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, we don't call it weed. We call it cannabis. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, cannabis or THC. I said, or weed. No, we don't call it weed. It's not politically correct. I'm like, wow.
Like the devil's lettuce.
Yeah.
How did this person feel about you calling it the weed?
I mean, we heard from Congressman Alford that the farmers are like, don't call that fake meat beef. Don't do it.
That's right. There is a recall for more than 1,000 cannabis products in Missouri. More than 1,000 products from Delta Extraction, according to a press release from the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services. Products were not compliantly tracked in the statewide track and trace system, so they weren't able to verify that the products came from cannabis grown in Missouri, that the product passed required testing prior to being sold at dispensaries.
I was so excited to see this announcement yesterday, and I totally called it. Dr. Ashley Emmel and I, earlier this spring, visited Silver Dollar City. Fire in the Hole was going away, and I was having a moment. Luckily, there's like a new photo booth and everything, and you can kind of have and I had my last ride, and I was really sad, and I said, you know what, I wish they would bring something back, and it would have a nod to Fire in the Hole, and they announced yesterday they are going to invest $30 million in a new Fire in the Hole ride. It's highly anticipated opening spring of 2024. But anyway, I thought it's just not Silver Dollar City without Fire in the Hole. So it was, but it had a distinct smell when you went through. I don't think everything in the display from however many years ago was politically correct. And so it was probably time and like mechanically, I'm like, I rode this when I was a kid. I was thinking, am I safe? So I think maybe it was time for an upgrade, but I'm really glad to see that they're going to, reimagine Fire in the Hole.
Well, and how closely tied the Fire in the Hole is to really Silver Dollar City. Last time I was at Silver Dollar City, shame on me, was 1982. Year the Cardinals beat the Milwaukee Brewers in the World Series. Went there several days over the summer. I remember homemade kettle corn and Fire in the Hole.
Those still got both of those.
Yeah, only thing I remember from some 40 years ago. Tomorrow on the show, Raven Harrison does a lot of stuff with Fox. I like Raven Harrison. She's sharp.